Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome back. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about the reaction of elements with water. Okay, reactions of period 3 elements with water. Let's begin. Okay, so we've completed elements with oxygen. We've completed the reaction of oxides with water. Now it's the time to do the reaction of elements with water. Okay, the first element that we have is sodium. Okay, this is a very important reaction of sodium because the same question for 4 to 5 marks repeats almost like after 2 to 3 years. Okay, for sodium reactions for approximately 4 marks. I've seen this question quite frequently on the past papers to describe what would be observed when sodium, a piece of sodium is thrown into water or a sodium is added to water. What's the observation? So first observation, sodium is a very reactive metal, and group 1 metals are generally very reactive. So these are the few observations that you can see, and these are according to the latest marking scheme and from the best textbook out there. Okay, so now let's see. First of all, sodium is very reactive, so it will explosively, vigorously, rapidly, exothermically react with the water molecule, producing NaOH and hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen is a gas, so you will see gas bubbles, right? The sodium will start fizzing and start moving and running across the surface at high speed, and it will catch fire and it will melt and it will dissolve away. Eventually, when it reacts, all the sodium gets used up, it will dissolve away. Okay, it will start melting and then it will get dissolved. These are all the observations, so I've listed them down. So let's go over them one by one. Vigorous exothermic and explosive reaction would be observed. Okay, it runs across the surface at high speed and catches fire. Okay, so you get 2 to 3 marks from here, and then it melts and dissolves, the 4th mark, and then it fizzes with water, producing bubbles of gas. Okay, bubbles of gas is enough. Well, if you want, you can say that the bubbles of gas are produced, and the gas produces a popping sound with a lighted splint. Okay, not a glowing splint. The test for hydrogen is lighted splint. Pop sound will be heard. Okay, then after this comes magnesium. Magnesium, when reacts with water, magnesium has 2 types of reactions, by the way. It can react with cold or it can react with hot water. Sodium reacted with cold water, by the way. Okay, this was cold. Cold actually refers over here to the water which is at room temperature, which is not heated. Okay, that is referring to cold water. It's not the water from the fridge. Okay, it's just the water at room temperature. Now, magnesium, when reacts with that water at room temperature, there is a slow reaction and it produces a cloudy solution which contains magnesium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Okay, now this solution is cloudy because remember in the previous video I told you that magnesium hydroxide is slightly soluble or partially soluble in water. It does not fully dissolve in water and it precipitates out some of it somewhat, so the solution remains cloudy. This is a question that was asked in the past exams, in which the examiner asked us that describe and explain why the solution turns cloudy when magnesium is added to cold water. So the reason was magnesium hydroxide, which is produced, it is partially soluble in water. Therefore, since it doesn't fully dissolve, so it precipitates out, resulting in a cloudy solution. Then secondly, and this equation needs to be learned, by the way. First part of the question was to write down the equation, and second part why the solution was cloudy. Then when magnesium reacts with steam, hot water or steam, basically, of course it's steam. Okay, you've evaporated, boiled off the water, and now it's reacting with magnesium. So now when magnesium reacts with steam, this is obviously going to be a faster reaction. It is a fast reaction and produces magnesium oxide, not hydroxide this time. Produces magnesium oxide, white solid, and hydrogen gas. Okay, fast reaction. Then, and again, this reaction also needs to be learned, that when magnesium reacts with steam, it produces oxide. When with water, cold water, hydroxide. And cloudy, hydroxide, and oxide is just a solid which is formed. Then coming to aluminum. Aluminum at room temperature does not react with water. Okay, doesn't react at room temperature, but when it is heated in water, it produces Al2O3 and hydrogen gas. Okay, aluminum doesn't react with in cold water at room temperature because of course it has an inert layer around it of Al2O3, which most probably was formed when it was in air. Okay, but this is the reaction that occurs when you heat the water, or you react it with hot water. Okay, aluminum oxide and hydrogen gas. Then coming to silicon, has no reaction with water because it's insoluble in water. Then comes to phosphorus, again has no reaction with water, and sulfur also has no reaction with water. The last and the very important element is chlorine, and chlorine does react with water. Okay, it's not like the other three, it does react. And when chlorine dissolves in water, it produces two compounds, two acids basically. It produces HCl and HOCl. HOCl, we've come across this in the previous class. HOCl is hypochlorous acid, and I told you this is the disinfectant. This is the disinfecting agent. Okay, this is the agent which is added to the bleaching, to the drinking water in order to disinfect it, in order to remove all the bacteria and virus and the germs from it. So HOCl is a disinfectant, and by the way, this type of reaction, if you look at it carefully, chlorine in elemental state has an oxidation number of 0, whereas chlorine over here in HCl has an oxidation state of -1, and chlorine over here in HOCl has an oxidation state of +1 actually. This is also called hypochlorous acid or chloric 1 acid. Because chlorine over here has an oxidation state of +1. If you calculate the oxidation state, +1 - 2 is gonna give you and plus x, and x is gonna equal to +1 actually. So chlorine has a charge of +1 over here, oxidation state of +1. Now the same chlorine is being reduced and it is being oxidized, okay, meaning oxidation number has increased over here, it's +1, so it has oxidized, and it has decreased over here, it's -1, so it has reduced. So in such a reaction in which the same element is being oxidized and reduced at the same time is known as a disproportionation reaction. Okay, what is it called? It's called a disproportionation reaction, and this is a very important concept. Okay, what is a disproportionation reaction? A reaction in which the same element is being oxidized and that same element is being reduced at the same time simultaneously in that particular equation, in that particular reaction. Okay, a reversible reaction because it's a slow reaction. And this HOCl, hypochlorous acid, is a disinfecting agent. When it is exposed to sunlight, in sunlight this HOCl, it decomposes, by the way, and it decomposes to produce HCl and oxygen. Okay, so this completes the discussion on the reaction of the elements with water. Reactions of elements with water has been completed. In the next video we are going to go on to reaction of the oxides with acids and bases, and thank you so much.